What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock and what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to do a more macro analysis of Tesla by dissecting the SPY, the Nasdaq, the QQQs, and talk about how these things may affect Tesla going forward, given what the data is showing us. Now, before I break anything down, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Don't take any of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. Not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is, any could be a free Tesla share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 3 days. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So if you look at Tesla, guys, we had a pretty decent day for Friday, but when you do a nice comparison of how Tesla moved with the market, it tells a very different story. So what I could do right here, just to start us off, would be putting Tesla next to the SPY. You guys could see that they don't necessarily run exactly the same, but there is somewhat of a similarity right here. You guys can see both of them got this nice pump during like this moment right here. They both came down very closely. At the very end, if you look at SPY, we had this resistance around this 399 to about 400 zone. This was where Tesla had its resistance around 196.5. They both kind of like traded in a very similar manner, at least when you compare them side by side. When you look at the QQQ and compare it, this actually tends to be even more correlated with Tesla. And if you look at this, very similar setup between the two. It really shows how the macro perspective does affect Tesla too. Now, when it comes to a price comparison, you can see this has been going on for essentially the entire year. If you look at Tesla next to the QQQ, very, very similar stuff, except as of recent, Tesla has been the one that's been underperforming because of Elon Musk selling those shares, and also because of the FUD and capitulation from lots of investors once we broke below the $200 level of support. And this is why the price price ratio came to this low value. So now the real question is, now that the market is pumping, how may this affect Tesla? I mentioned previously that SPY does have a lot of potential for maybe gamma, depending on how we close on Monday and the later days. Not to mention the active closing puts could also push the markets up, and this will likely play a big role in how Tesla moves. But now I want to shift your focus to the SPY. All right. What you'll see on the daily chart is we've been essentially respecting this descending broadening wedge. And just ignore these support zones and resistance levels. Just don't worry about these guys, at least for the time being. We're just focused on the overall trend. So we have this resistance line right here, and we have this support level. And this is basically the wedge we've been essentially following, right? SPY has a tendency of getting rejected off this upper resistance level. We bounce off support, back and forth, support, resistance, back and forth, right? And what you'll notice is it looks like we want to push all the way back to this resistance level, which is going to take SPY to about that 410 or so range, around 410. I think it's very possible, but it would be a little bit lower depending on the timing. So if it takes us a couple of weeks to actually get there, just for example, then we could actually get stopped out at about this 408 level. But anyways, my main point is 410 is like what a key target is on the SPY. We also have a gap fill around this 406, 407 level. So it looks like SPY could continue pushing up. But the warning I have for everyone is, look, this level right here has historically been resistance. And we tend to get rejected off of this. Now, I do believe when SPY rallies, and if we do get to like 410, we are going to get a small, I wouldn't necessarily say a perfect rejection, but I do believe that we are going to struggle to break this because resistance is going to be very strong. Now, it is possible for us to break through this, and if we do, that's going to be a very bullish sign for the markets, especially ending this year. But even if we do that, it does not prove that this whole like bear market is necessarily over. You have to remember that, because the market could be full of unexpected events. But the main point is the overall trend still looks more bullish. It's just that we are going to be hitting strong resistance relatively soon. And in that case, it's going to have an effect on how the market moves. When it comes to the VIX, right, the volatility index, what do you guys see here? All right, this thing is coming down pretty hard. And we actually broke below support at around 22.64. Now, if we keep pushing down, which is very possible because the market is bullish for the time being, and once again, let me actually remind you guys, we haven't hit this resistance level yet on SPY. We have more room to go to the upside, all right? That's why I keep talking about why the market still looks more bullish, at least from a more net bullish perspective. For the VIX, this is likely going to continue to come down and fill the gap down here if we continue to actually break below this 21.8 level, which is very possible, guys. The VIX is likely going to fill the gap and come down to the 20. But then once we get there, all right, we have like 19, we have 18. Could we see a nice bounce somewhere? It is still very possible. And that's why you have to be careful when the SPY hits that resistance level. And as a result, it's going to affect how the whole market moves. On the QQQ, which tends to be more correlated with Tesla, we have a very similar trend just about here. And what I'm essentially seeing is the potential for us to actually retest a very key resistance level. I don't always charge the QQQ. This is why this looks a little bit less full of detail, but the next key level is around that 290 zone. This does look like an accumulation, so I do believe the QQQ will get there. If we get a clean breakup of that, we have resistance around that 295 level. And if we keep pumping like really hard, it looks like we have a lot of room to go. So the next major level I'm going to be looking for is this gap fill. If we get a clean break above 300, that's going to be a very psychological level. So watch for that 300. If we get a clean break above it, we could go all the way and try to fill the gap right here. But then once we do it, there is a chance we could get rejected in this zone as we have in the past. All right, so it's very important to note this. Now, with that said about the QQQ, this will affect Tesla because remember, we could get rejected even before we actually even fill the gap around 300. It is still very possible. And because of that, with the market potentially moving in this direction, especially with the 10-year treasury yield starting to come down, this thing is likely going to continue to downtrend, maybe even fill the gap here. But if it does continue with this trend, what happens after that? The last time we hit this level right about here, all right, right about this 35.64 level, somewhere around there, right? Give or take that level. We did see a nice bounce. So this could bounce and the market could reverse in the blink of an eye. But if you know these levels, you will be prepared just in case that ends up happening. So the bottom line of all this analysis, all right, all this analysis, look, Apple looks bullish for the short term. And I could see Apple get a clean break above 150. If we do, I'm going to be watching that 152 zone. Break past that, and this thing has the potential to run all the way up to 155. However, there are these levels up here on Apple. Look at this, like 158 isn't one example. Another one could be that 163, depending on how high we go, where we do get these big rejections. And you have to be prepared for this just in case. The market does have lots of gaps to the downside, which may get filled in the future. I can't promise that, but they tend to actually do that, especially because SPY has, I believe, a lot of gaps to the downside. There's one in the 350s, I remember. There's also another one, a big one that actually formed after the CPI report just yesterday. So by yesterday, I mean 2 days ago, but you understand my point, right? So the main point I'm making is we are going to pump in the markets. But once we hit this resistance level, there's no guarantee the pump is going to continue to just explode. There is a chance we are going to fight it, which I believe we will. But then I don't know if we're going to get a big rejection off this or if we are going to continue to break above this very strong resistance level. And with that said, all right, one thing about Tesla is the news will affect it because Tesla has been underperforming. It is oversold. And when stocks are still at this very oversold levels, they tend to see these nice bounces to the upside. But for Tesla, what I'm essentially seeing is it's likely going to continue pumping. It's going to be strong. But if the market gets a big rejection off those very key resistance levels and the whole market starts downtrending, it's very likely Tesla is going to make a U-turn and start trading kind of sideways and maybe downtrend with the markets. You have to be ready for that because look at the comparison between how Tesla has been moving over these last few days compared to like SPY. If you compare that to SPY, you could see SPY is pushing up pretty well. It has a very, very nice setup. Tesla looks pretty good too. But on the QQQ, the whole market is basically correlated. That's the main point I'm trying to make. And it really shows how the market has this big effect on how Tesla moves. Now, with the whole Elon Musk situation, at the time I'm recording this, there's no confirmation of him officially being done with the selling. If he is, this thing could be way more explosive than the overall market, but the market will still have somewhat of an effect on how this thing moves. You have to remember that because the market's moving in unison, and buyers and sellers tend to gain confidence in the market from a more collective point of view. Just remember this. Look at this in the past with the QQQ. The QQQ was pumping up right here. Tesla was pushing up. This was back around uh, December time of last year, maybe close to about January. This was near Tesla's all-time high. Both Tesla and the QQQ came down. The QQQ does tend to be correlated with it. So does the Nasdaq. The market had a big rally in March time, and the QQQ reached its high. Tesla also did the same thing. Then they both came down. They both came up. This was during the August rally. They both came down. However, as of recent, Tesla came down a little bit harder than the QQQ because of the fact that Musk was selling. All right. So, with that said, the main bottom line here is you have to watch how the market responds and how that ends up affecting Tesla. One very key level that will affect the whole market is SPY. If we get that rejection, Tesla could end up seeing a big reversal or even a slowdown. So please watch for that 410 zone on SPY. It is still going to be very important. However, until then, because we're not there yet, we do have more room to continue pumping, in my opinion. And I do believe Tesla's going to break past that $200 level of resistance quite quickly. And then we have a lot of room to start pumping after that. But it's also dependent on Elon Musk, what the news is on him. If the announcement comes out, and like I mentioned before, it hasn't come out yet that he's done selling, I believe this thing is going to fly to the moon. This thing is likely going to break past 200, retest 205. Then we have 209, 211, 215, all these crazy high numbers. These are actually pretty low compared to Tesla's all-time high because of how oversold we were when we recently hit that 177 level. So this is a very good opportunity for a swing trade if you guys are interested in doing that. Once again, I'm not giving financial advice, but I just wanted to make this as blunt as possible that if you are trading or even looking at how Tesla's moving, you always have to remember the macro factors and how these yields are moving, what's going on with the VIX, what's going on with SPY, and all that, because it will affect Tesla at least to some degree. Sometimes the degree is very large, other times it's not as large. But right now, guys, please be ready, remain calm, cool, and collected, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Right now, the market looks more bullish. The whole market, I believe it's going to help Tesla push up for some time. But once we hit those resistance levels, I'm going to be more careful on Tesla when trading the QQQ and Apple and everything all together. Thank you for listening. Like I said before, remain calm, cool, and collected, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Enjoy your weekend, Tesla to the moon, and peace out.